most marketing is making things seem more magical than they are. So how did they do that with poly? What does poly have? So in business, we want a thing called economies of scale. Now, what economy of scale is if you can have a big upfront investment and drive down the subsequent costs significantly, you can end up making a lot more money if you're selling the thing for the same price. Now, let me put that in the context of glass and polycarbonate. So a glass lens, basically you take a sheet of glass, you cut out pucks of glass, you bend the pucks into curve in a furnace, at which point you then grind the front and the back surface of the glass. That is incredibly labor intensive, and that is not even a finished lens. So now you take that lens, which is round and maybe has a prescription in it, you then need to cut the lens to fit a frame, and then you need to temper the glass so that it will be able to pass a drop ball test. So overall, the manufacturing of glass is an incredibly labor intensive process. And that was how lenses were made back in the 60s, 70s, 50s, et cetera, et cetera. Now, CR-39 came along, and CR-39 was cool. CR-39 was plastic. The challenge with CR-39 is the chemicals that are used for CR-39 are kind of scary when you think about them. So you use a ton of acetone, which is a environmental liability. The other thing is you use a initiator to kind of create the curing, and that initiator, if you leave it at room temperature, it explodes, which is kind of terrifying. So most things, if you leave them alone, they just kind of rot. This stuff, if you leave it alone, it explodes. Terrifying. So that's CR-39. Now let's talk about polycarbonate. Polycarbonate, you make molds. So you can make those molds out of electroplated nickel, and they go into an injection molding machine. So basically what an injection molding machine is, you have two metal molds, you push it together, you push heated plastic into the mold, you separate the mold, and then lenses drop out. That happens and can happen with polycarbonate every, somewhere between 8 and 45 seconds. So you can basically turn an injection molding machine into a lens factory with two molds. Now, if I wanted to make 10,000 glass lenses, I would need to do that process 10,000 times. I would need to melt the glass. I would need to cut the glass. I would need to bend the glass. I would need to grind the glass front, grind the glass back. With polycarbonate, I can set the injection molder on and just say go, and lenses pop out. Now, so that's the business part. Polycarbonate makes really good business sense if you want to make a lot of money real quick. Now, little problem, the optics are kind of trash. So, how do we contend with that? Marketing. Now, marketing is the act of taking something and making it potentially sound way better than it is. Now, sometimes marketing doesn't do that, and you have something that's amazing, and you just need a little bit of marketing to bring out the magic. But most marketing is making things seem more magical than they are. So how did they do that with poly? What does poly have? Because, you're looking through glasses. The glasses are optical. The optics are trash. How can you sell poly, which is trash optics, as something that's beneficial? In the 1980s, it was a very litigious time in our society. If you go back, Wolf of Wall Street, all that weird stuff. People were suing everybody for everything. And what came out during that time was this idea that every ophthalmic professional has a duty to warn everybody and everything that they might not be getting the most impact-resistant lens available if they don't get polycarbonate. So basically, you have a duty to warn your patient that if you get anything other than polycarbonate, your eyeballs might explode in a horrible, horrible accident because you didn't get polycarbonate. So that's duty to warn. Duty to warn was the most successful marketing technique in lens technology I've ever seen. It's amazing because it carries through to this day that we are selling absolute trash lenses onto the faces of everybody. And that is polycarbonate.